The Denver Nuggets are NBA champions. The NBA season is over, and there's one big lesson to learn from the Nuggets finally ascending to the top and lifting the Larry O'Brien trophy. And that lesson is, it's the journey, not the destination. Let's go on a journey, my friends, to Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is June 13th, 2023. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the expert insight editor over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, the Denver Nuggets wrap up the NBA season, winning the NBA championship, defeating the Miami Heat in 5 games with, I believe it was a 94-89 victory. The score's not important. We'll talk a little bit about basketball, but today's episode is not about basketball. Today's episode is about how a team like the Denver Nuggets became champions and the journey it took to get there. We'll get to all that coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, no matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload. We truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Remember, there's a great Locked On podcast covering every single team in the NBA. To search for Locked On and the team you're looking for, the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. The Denver Nuggets are NBA champions. They played on Monday a really ugly, grimy game, a game that at times it didn't look like they were going to be able to win. But that's been kind of the greatness of this Nuggets team. That's kind of been the greatness of this moment. At every turn this season, players in that ecosystem have stepped up. Yes, Nikola Jokic is a brilliant player, but obviously he had the foul trouble in Game 4. He had early foul trouble in Game 5. Yes, Jamal Murray is a brilliant player, and we're going to get into his story because it's so essential to how the Nuggets got to this moment and how the Nuggets got to winning a championship. But there were moments where he too struggled, where, people questioned his shot selection and his mettle and his ability to lead a team to a championship. There was Aaron Gordon, not cast off by the Orlando Magic. And yeah, there's a lot of weird narratives going on about his time in Orlando, but certainly misused in Orlando by necessity, but misused. Finding a home and finding a way to contribute at a high level, be the championship player Orlando always believed he could be. There's Michael Porter Jr. going through the grind, trying to stay healthy, trying to contribute, trying to do things that make him uncomfortable but will make him better. There's veterans like Jeff Green finally winning a championship, or Ish Smith, our guy, Ish Smith. Remember when he jumped over John Wall? That was fun. It's proof that a championship truly is about a team coming together, about a team being more than the sum of its parts. A championship is earned. And look, Denver made the shots. They made the plays. They got the stops. All that stuff is part of why they're lifting the Larry O'Brien trophy, why they're celebrating tonight, why Nikola Jokic can't quite go home to see his horses quite yet. The Denver Nuggets are NBA champions, a somewhat unlikely NBA champion in some way, a team that faced doubt at every single moment of their season and every single moment of their growth and development. I had the Suns winning the West. I had Bucks over Suns. A lot of us were wrong. And the thing about winning a championship is no one believes you can win a championship until you finally do it. There's always that little bit of doubt. The Heat haven't won a championship, but they've been to the finals. They were the 8th seed. They weren't supposed to be here. They were the spoilers. They had nothing to lose. Denver had all the pressure. And at various times throughout the course of their development and their growth, they have succumbed to that pressure. In game 5, it looked like they would succumb to that pressure. Miami raced out to a 10-point lead. The foul trouble to both Nikola Jokic and Aaron Gordon really bothered them. They were 1 for 15 on three-pointers at halftime. They had a big lead. Allowed Jimmy Butler to start cooking. Get Miami back in the game, but Denver had all the plays. Bruce Brown with a putback, the grimiest of grimy plays. Love me a vulture. Yeah, Bruce Brown's on the Magic's list of free agents. The grimiest of grimy plays. A putback that gave Denver the lead for good. A 90-89 win. They sealed it from the foul line. Nikola Jokic, your finals MVP. I would sit here and tell you that if you want a breakdown of why the Denver Nuggets are the NBA champions, if you want a breakdown of the X's and O's, of the celebration, check out our friends Locked On Nuggets. Adam and Matt, Adam Ares, Matt Moore, do a fantastic job covering the Nuggets on Locked On Nuggets. Locked On NBA has the full coverage of the championship. They'll do a much better job telling you the why of this than I can. I feel like I'm a student of the history of the game. I can tell you that this is a championship that's going to ring true. That this is a championship that is going to have effects on the league moving forward. That the idea that of what Nikola Jokic is, now seeing it work, it's not a novelty. It's not he won MVP. He deserved his MVP. Deserved MVP this year. Most years he probably would have won MVP this year. But the thing about going to the championship is now everyone knows it works. So yeah, go to OrlandoMagicDaily.com. I wrote an article a few days ago explaining how the Magic could use Paolo Banchero the same way that they used Nikola Jokic. And the Magic are very much a team trying to now follow in these Nuggets' footsteps as far as building a team with versatility, building a team that inverts the pyramid, that inverts play style, that has a center that is a playmaker, has a big that is a playmaker. That's every team in the league is going to be looking for size. Orlando's already got that. Orlando's already looking for that size and that versatility. Wendell Carter is one of the few guys that actually defends Nikola Jokic very, very well. Just check the numbers on that. And yeah, the Magic beat Denver and lost to them in Denver on a buzzer beater. So, we'll take it. The Magic obviously had a huge hand in helping Denver build this championship team. Not just because Jeff Green and Nish Smith are on the roster, proud Magic alums. I hope they're proud Magic alums. Maybe they're not. We're proud to have them as alums. Everyone's part of the Magic family. But Aaron Gordon, a 7-year player in Orlando, a former savior for the team, proved to be the missing piece. Proved to be the big, versatile defender that Denver needed to make the whole thing work. He locked up Jimmy Butler for a good chunk of this series. It was a big difference in this series. Was huge in the Game 4 win that put Denver in a position to end the season tonight. The Denver Nuggets are your NBA champions. But what made the Denver Nuggets NBA champions was the journey that got them there. And this is such an important point. If there is a lesson to learn from what Denver has done, it is not the X's and O's. It is not Nikola Jokic is really good. Nikola Jokic is really good. It is not about the who or the what or the how or the why. It is the persistence of belief. The Denver Nuggets should tell the world, should tell everyone that building and winning a championship is not a year-long journey. It is much, much longer than that. We're going to go a little bit on that journey and show why it's the journey, not the destination, that matters in ultimately winning a championship for the Denver Nuggets. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, a quick word from our friends over at eBay Motors. For a championship team like the Denver Nuggets, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, Confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with more than 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay guaranteed fits, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. The Denver Nuggets championship is not a championship of the 2023 season. Yes, they only give out one of these trophies every year, but all the stories, all the talk about the Denver Nuggets has, frankly, always focused on their failure. And really, any championship journey, any path to the championship, any path to lifting that Larry O'Brien trophy is usually dotted with failure, with having to learn hard lessons, with having to get yourself back up, with having to ask a question, are we good enough? And persisting past it. Winning titles are hard. The Magic have had two championship caliber teams or two championship caliber groups in their 34-year history. They've come very close, but saw it collapse for a number of reasons. Some of it contracts, some of it just youth, some of it, frankly, a lack of faith in what they have. Some of it, the nature of the way the league works, of the way the teams coalesce, converge, collide. Ego plays a huge role. Championships are not easy to win. Again, if they were, everyone would have them. There are now, I believe, 10 teams in the league that have not won a championship. The Magic are one of them. Denver is no longer one of them. But for the Denver Nuggets, their path to a championship is about each lesson learned along the way. It is truly about the path it took to get to this moment, to that stage in Denver, to that celebration that looks like it's going to come later this week. Every step of that journey is important. And it's funny that Jimmy Butler had a role to play in it. Because back in, I believe it was 2017, on the last night of the season, the 8th seed, the lowly 8th seed on the line, the Minnesota Timberwolves beat the Denver Nuggets in Minneapolis for that final playoff spot. Minnesota was exuberant. They'd broken a long playoff drought. Denver simply had to seethe. A young team kind of fell apart late in the season to give up that playoff spot. And they had to regroup. By all accounts, they all said this will never happen again. And Denver, everyone understood was a team on the rise, that they'd be back in the playoffs, returned to the playoffs shortly thereafter. In 2018, 2019, they suffered disappointment. They suffered a lot of loss, only then to get a huge breakthrough in the bubble in 2020. Down 3-1, defeating the Utah Jazz in the first round series in a fantastic duel between Jamal Murray and Donovan Mitchell. Down 3-1 again to the LA Clippers, defeating them to set up a Western Conference Finals with the Los Angeles Lakers. And then a loss to a simply better Lakers team that sent them back reeling and thinking about, okay, what do we do next? They lost a huge difference maker in Jeremy Grant to free agency. Jeremy Grant wanted to be a star. He signed with the Detroit Pistons. And Denver had to search for an answer to replace him. Their initial answer didn't work. They acquired Aaron Gordon in a trade. And everything seemed to be lining up for them to win a championship. But then just, I think it was 7 games after Gordon arrived in Denver, Jamal Murray tears his ACL. And Denver falls back down the mountain a little bit. 2022 season last year, yes, Nikola Jokic is winning MVPs in the meantime, but 2022 season, the Nuggets lose in the first round. Murray doesn't play at all because of the ACL injury. And Denver, to some extent, had to ask, has our window closed? Has our window passed us by? What do we need to do to get over the hump? The answer for them was to have faith, to believe in their guys, to shore up their roster with Bruce Brown, with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. They made a big deal trading Monte Morris. That was a huge deal for them. It got them KCP, and KCP made some humongous shots. Gave them a little championship grit, some championship experience. But remember, so much of the MVP debate, as disingenuous as it might have been, was about Nikola Jokic is doing all this, but I can't give a third MVP to a guy that hasn't won a title. This Nuggets franchise, this Nuggets team, faced question after question after question after question. They suffered setbacks and failures, and everyone wondered, will this team get over the hump? Even as the top seed in this playoffs, and frankly, the top seed for most of the season, everyone asked, are they the team that gets over the hump? I certainly doubted it. I thought people were a little crazy because I thought Jamal Murray would need more time to get healthy again. I thought people were a little crazy to think Denver was going to be the number one team in the West. Even in the playoffs, I picked teams over them. I thought they were still going to be very good. I didn't think it was impossible, but there was a lot of faith that was required for Denver to get here. But each of those failures and each of those kind of confirmation of faith, this belief that, hey, we can overcome this failure. Hey, we can overcome these mistakes. We can overcome it all. We will be better. We will improve. We will learn. We will grow. And we will win. There are a lot of teams that might have jumped ship on some guys, that might have tried to ship out Jamal Murray, or would have blown the team up if they didn't get through after 3 years, or would have changed coaches. Mike Malone did a fantastic coaching job. There are a lot of teams that hit crossroads and could have torpedoed this thing before it really got going. And look, if they're really serious about winning a second title, the pressure is only going to increase. It always only increases. It never gets relieved when you're at this level. But if you ask the Nuggets, if you ask what this title means, what any first title really means, it's about that journey. This Nuggets team isn't here without having to go through and learn while Jamal Murray was out. This team isn't here without the first round setbacks, without losing in that essential playing game, that game 82 in Minneapolis. This team is not here without it. It seems fitting that one champion really described kind of the reality of being a top team. When you're a top player in this league, when you're a top team in this league, as Giannis put it after the Heat eliminated the Bucks, it's only failure if you stop trying. We don't know what the story is. We don't know what the end result is. We don't know what the destination is for all of these great players. But we know failure is a chapter in the story. LeBron James lost in 2009 and 10. Michael Jordan lost to the Pistons, had to learn how to overcome the Pistons. Most of the great players in this league had to deal with failure. And a lot of what we like and love about them is their response to failure. And it's really important in our clickbaity world, in our world where everyone wants instant gratification. I get comments from fans who think that the Magic aren't, we're going to get to Magic in a second, I promise, who are frustrated the Magic didn't make the playoffs this year. And I'm just like, hey, this is part of the journey. It's okay. The journey to get to a championship is what makes the championship. You do not win a championship. You very rarely win a championship without collective failure, without going through that grind, going through that frustration, seeing the other side being so close, being positive that you can get there, but going through that failure nonetheless, coming up short nonetheless. and your response is how you are measured at the end of the day in the annals of history. The Magic, like I said, are on their own journey. The Nuggets are obviously at the top of the mountain. Orlando is beginning its climb. And as we reflect on a championship team, on an NBA championship being handed out, as Giannis said, every step is part of the journey. And you have to learn to enjoy that journey. We'll talk about the Magic, where they're at in their journey as we reset the clock, head back to 0-0, 0-0, 0-0, and think about what comes next in the 2024 season. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, it's time for a quick word from our friends over at FanDuel. Make your way over to FanDuel because right now, new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's $2,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. FanDuel is the official sportsbook partner of Locked On, obviously, but it's great because they have great promotions. Every day, they offer a safe and secure app, and you get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet on all the playoff action, whether it's NHL or eventually MLB or whatever's going on now. You know, who knows what is going on now that basketball season's over. WNBA action obviously going on. There's no better place to go than America's #1 sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get a no-sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's $2,500 at FanDuel.com/lockedon. Again, that's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. I'm going to take a quick moment before we get into the Orlando Magic's journey to a championship by inviting you to join me over at Subtext. Subtext is a great new platform that allows me to provide my kind of unfiltered thoughts to you on the Orlando Magic. I'll put some breaking news information there, some little tidbits that I find, interesting stats, really anything that comes to my mind over on Subtext. But the more important thing is it gives you the opportunity to text directly to me. It's like having my phone number in your phone. Anytime you have a Magic question, send it to me on subtext, and I will answer it directly to you on your phone. It's a fantastic platform. We're really gearing up to have some good stuff heading into the NBA draft, which is only a week and a half away now. Check it out today. Join subtext.com/lockedonmagic for more info. Again, that's joinsubtext.com/lockedonmagic. Obviously, the Orlando Magic are at the beginning stages of their journey. They're at the stage that the Nuggets are at long ago, 7, 8, 9 years ago now, with Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic coming off the bench and learning the league and just dreaming of this day, not even understanding that it's possible. It took Jokic 8 or 9 years. It took them 8 years, 9 years to get to this pinnacle. It is a journey. And I always am worried that people will put false timelines on things, that people will try to speed up that journey, that people will focus so intensely on the destination that they forget about the pieces that build up to get you there. Like I said, the Nuggets are not here today without everything that built up to it. And yes, it takes having great players. Nikola Jokic is one of the best players in the league, 2-time MVP. Yes, it takes smart drafting. Jamal Murray being picked with what? The 7th pick, 8th pick? A guy that was very much overlooked coming out of Kentucky in a lot of ways. It takes smart roster management. There's no doubt about that. You're ultimately as good as your players. So, you don't hold on to players just to hold on to them, obviously. The Magic did that a little bit. And, they didn't get trapped, but they saw a ceiling. As I always say, you're only stuck if there's no way forward. If there's no way to get better, if there's no way to improve. Like the Miami Heat are a little bit stuck. I hate to say it. Maybe I don't hate to say it. I don't know. But the Magic are still at this beginning part of their journey. They're still at the part where they're trying to learn how to win, where they haven't even gone through failure yet. They're almost at a stage where their failures are viewed as potential learning opportunities. And honestly, we were going to talk about Jamal Mosley today. We're going to talk about him tomorrow. That was one of the great tricks, magic tricks that Jamal Mosley did was, yes, he put players in odd situations. He put players in positions and situations where they would be forced to learn and grow pretty quickly. And it was all with an idea of, hey, we're going to need this in the playoffs 2 years from now. And so, yeah, the Magic went through their failures and their struggles this year. But everyone approached it just as they should, as an opportunity to grow, as an opportunity to learn, to understanding that those failures are part of this journey. Now, obviously, growth, development, progress, you have to start seeing results. You can't just repeat the same mistakes over and over again and keep failing. That's not the journey we're talking about. The journey is very truly about taking steps forward, learning from failure, learning from mistakes, getting better, making new mistakes, going through heartache, and responding to it. Every championship team has to do it. It's honestly, like, if you ask me, one of the great kind of failures in Magic history is that they had a lot of things happen really easily. Yes, Orlando, the 2009 Magic, had to struggle to get past Detroit. But they never beat those Pistons in a playoff series. They never got the satisfaction of slaying their demon. They had new challenges. They surprised. They won. And then when push came to shove, when things got really tough in the 2009 finals and the 2010 conference finals, they struggled to stay together. It's not easy. The problem of more is a real thing. The Pat Riley problem of more is a real thing. It's always uncertain. Sometimes there are disagreements, sometimes there are injuries that you can't overcome, that you can't get past. But in order to win in this league, you have to be able to withstand those failures. You have to be able to learn from them. And the Magic right now are learning the basics. So much about this past season, the 2023 season for the Magic, and why it was so successful was that it was about building this foundation. It was about experiencing the full width of the NBA, coming out and learning how to win, getting better at that skill, but still learning hard lessons. What was the most memorable and perhaps best win of the season? You can go back, listen to our podcast ranking the top 10 games of the Magic season. I believe it was one, it might have been two, was that March 3rd overtime win over Miami. Because a month earlier, Orlando lost by blowing a big lead to the Heat in overtime. A month later, they blew a big lead still. They went to overtime, but they found a way to win. That's success. That's what success for this Magic team looked like. But now comes a real challenge. We are expecting Orlando to level up. We are expecting Orlando to take that next step. We are expecting them to make the playoffs. The players are certainly expecting it, but the management is putting that expectation. Who knows? But this is a season where we're going to really learn who is part of this team's future and who is not. This is a season where we're going to learn what this team is actually trying to grow and become. But honestly, even if this season is a success, even if this season ends with a playoff berth, in all likelihood, it's going to end with all of their flaws exposed. It's going to end in heartbreak. A 5, 6, hopefully maybe a 7-game series loss. A first-round loss to a team that's more seasoned and knows how to win a championship and is contending for a championship with how packed the East is. In all likelihood, this season, no matter what happens, it's going to leave this team asking a lot of questions about itself. But this is the lesson the Nuggets teach us. This is the lesson that every championship team teaches us. It's to have faith that those answers exist. To have faith that, especially if you've had a good season, you went somewhere where you wanted to go, you learned something, you put yourself in a position to learn something new, to unlock this new level, to have faith that those problems can be resolved through potential, through internal growth. And if you don't believe that's the case, then you start tinkering and moving things around. That's a journey that was a question that was part of Denver's run. Having to ask themselves after losing in the first round last year, do we have enough? Having to ask themselves after they lost the 8 seed in heartbreaking fashion, can this team grow into something more? Can this team keep growing? And obviously a lot of things have to fall right to win a championship. Even the greatest teams needed a shot to go down at some point, needed a bounce to go their way, needed to find the resolve and win a big game, win a season-turning game. At every turn, the Nuggets made the right decision. And even when they didn't make the right decision, they corrected themselves fairly quickly. They found ways to make it all work. Tonight, as we celebrate an NBA champion, I don't see them lifting the Larry O'Brien trophy. I see the journey it took to get them there. And now at least the journey the Magic are on to get themselves there too. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipRR_OMD. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all of us on the podcast to your podcast-enabled listening device. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, follow us on Twitter at @OMagicDaily. We want to thank you again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. If you're part of our everyday crew, you're probably wondering, did you say you were going to talk about Jamal Mosley today? I was, but obviously we had some news. On tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic, we will chat about Jamal Mosley and the season that he had for the Orlando Magic. Plus, I will throw in a bonus. We'll chat about Jeff Weltman and the season he had for the Orlando Magic, as well as the path that lays ahead of Orlando as they get ready for a critical offseason. If you need more NBA Finals coverage, definitely check out our friends Locked On Nuggets. Again, Adam Morris and Matt Moore do a fantastic job covering the Denver Nuggets. Locked On Nuggets is a great listen. I've been listening to it throughout the NBA Finals. Really just two of the sharpest guys on the network, honestly. All of our guys are super sharp. So, we're all tied at number one. But I've always really enjoyed listening to Matt. Adam is a fantastic guy. Really has the pulse of his team down too. I really highly recommend listening to Locked On Nuggets. I'm probably going to put in my queue and make sure I listen to it very, very soon. Also, be sure to check out Locked On NBA for the national perspective on the NBA championship. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. For Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.